So I need to talk to you about a game that's basically having an identity crisis, but in the best way possible. Crimson Desert is trying to be Assassin's Creed, The Witcher, Breath of the Wild, and somehow throw in giant missile-launching mechs just for good measure. And you know what? After diving deep into everything that's been revealed since mid-2024, I'm genuinely convinced this might actually work. But here's the thing. This game has been through more transformations than a Pokemon evolution chain. Started as an MMORPG prequel to Black Desert Online, then became a multiplayer game, and now it's launching as a full-on single-player action-adventure on March 19th, 2026. And yes, it just went gold last month, which means Pearl Abyss is literally saying, "We're done, no more delays." Famous last words, right? Stick around because we're breaking down everything. The chaotic development journey, the absolutely bonkers world they've built, a story that's equal parts revenge tale and world-ending catastrophe, characters you can actually play as besides the main dude, combat that reviewers have described as Street Fighter meets Dark Souls on fire, and NPCs that supposedly all serve a purpose. Yeah, we'll see about that last one. Let's dive in.
Hello, ladies and gents. Here your host, JD from JDRPG on the mic. Welcome to the channel. Now, let's go.
Okay, so let's rewind to 2019. Pearl Abyss, the Black Desert Online folks, announced Crimson Desert at that year's Socho season. Everyone's hyped because the trailer looks insane. Problem is, back then, it was supposed to be an MMORPG prequel to Black Desert Online. Then 2020 rolls around and Pearl Abyss is like, actually, we're making it more story-focused now. Cool. Then they're like, okay, it's got multiplayer elements, but it's not really an MMO anymore. By 2024, full pivot. It's now a completely single-player, story-driven action-adventure game set in the same universe as Black Desert, but doing its own thing. Now, you might be thinking, wow, that sounds like development hell. But here's where it gets interesting. According to their Q1 2024 earnings call in May, Pearl Abyss said Crimson Desert was in the last stages of development. They announced they'd have a playable demo at Gamescom 2024, and guess what? They delivered. People got their hands on it in August 2024, and the feedback was mixed, but mostly positive. Like, everyone said it was brutal, gorgeous, and the combat was incredible, but the controls were doing way too much. More on that in a bit. Then came the Game Awards in December 2024. They drop a new trailer and confirm late 2025.
The continent of Pywell. A land soaked in blood by the battles of those who seek peace and those who seek to shatter it. Here begins the saga of the Greymanes.
There are beings who brought chaos to Providence. The rifts they have created will return everything to nothingness. We seek to correct this.
Then Q2 earnings call happens and they push it to Q1 2026. Everyone groans, but then September 2025 State of Play happens and we get the actual date, March 19th, 2026. On January 24th, 2025, Pearl Abyss announces the game has officially gone gold. For those who don't know, that means the master copy is done and ready for manufacturing. Barring some catastrophic bug, this game is actually coming out on March 19th. No more delays, no more soon, TM. We have a date, people. PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PC via Steam, Epic Game Store, and Mac OS. Pearl Abyss is really trying to hit everyone with this one. Also, fun fact, they showcased the latest trailer running on PlayStation 5 Pro. and reviewers who went hands-on at Summer Game Fest 2025 said the performance was shockingly good considering how much is happening on screen. One preview literally said, "I don't understand how this is a real game because of the sheer fidelity combined with massive battles, tons of NPCs, and zero noticeable frame drops." So yeah, the development has been a journey, but we're in the final stretch now. Pre-orders are live, different editions are available, including a collector's edition with a 17-inch diorama if you're feeling fancy and have $280 burning a hole in your pocket, and the hype is building. But what exactly are we hyping? What is this game? Let's get this show going on. First, let's talk about the setting.
Seems as if he can't afford proper banquet attire. Seems more sword-swinging fools are running about by the...
Alright, so Crimson Desert takes place on the continent of Pywell. And when I say continent, I mean a massive open world that's supposedly twice the size of Skyrim and larger than Red Dead Redemption 2. Let me repeat that. Twice the size of Skyrim. And unlike some games where big map just means lots of empty space, Pywell is divided into 5 distinct regions, each with its own vibes, stories, and environmental challenges. First is Hernand. Think idyllic medieval countryside. Rolling hills, rivers, mountains. This is your Shire area, where things are relatively peaceful until they're not. Next is Pyloon. This is the frozen north, home to our protagonist, Cliff, and the Greymane's mercenary group. It's cold, harsh, and apparently has a place called Ulsrund, Land of the Wolf. Very winter is coming energy. Then there's Demonis, the political and military powerhouse. Massive castle at the center, seat of power, lots of intrigue. Next up is Delicia. Here's where it gets weird. This region is all about technology and science. Remember those mechs I mentioned? Yeah, this is where that stuff comes from. Medieval fantasy meets steampunk sci-fi. Finally, the Crimson Desert, the titular region. A vast, lawless, dangerous desert. Think Mad Max, but fantasy. This is basically the Here Be Dragons zone of the map. Now, what makes Pywell really cool is that it's a seamless open world. No loading screens between regions, dynamic weather that actually affects gameplay, like fog reducing visibility or rain making surfaces slippery, and a full day-night cycle, where certain NPCs behave differently at night. The NPC factions also have relationships with each other, which impacts how they interact with you and the world around you. The game features realistic details everywhere. Previews mention you can see NPCs just living their lives. Kids running around, people having conversations. The draw distance is apparently insane. One preview specifically called out how you can see across the entire map without that annoying fog that games usually use to hide their limited rendering. Looking at you, Horizon.
They even took the horns off his goats.
Getting around this massive world? You've got options. Horseback riding, classic, and apparently there's a horse bonding system. Wolves and bears, yeah, you can mount and ride them. Climbing and gliding, Breath of the Wild style. Dragons, flying, fire-breathing mounts that you can also use in combat. And giant missile-launching mechs, because why not? The footage showed Cliff riding a dragon, and then later climbing into what looks like a mechanized war machine straight out of a sci-fi game. This tonal whiplash is intentional, and I'm here for it. Pearl Abyss has built all of this on their proprietary Black Space engine, which they showed off at GDC 2025. The tech behind this thing is bonkers. Advanced physics, real-time destruction, you can burn down houses, smash through certain structures, and environmental interactivity that goes way beyond press X to pick up item. One gameplay breakdown showed Cliff throwing giant water vases at a burning house to put out the flames, then entering to rescue someone inside. Basically, Pywell feels alive in a way that a lot of open-world games struggle to achieve. It's not just a pretty backdrop, it's a world where stuff is happening whether you're there or not. Speaking of stuff happening, let's talk about why all this chaos is unfolding. So here's the setup. On the continent of Pywell, there used to be this tense but stable balance between the rival factions of the northern region of Pyloon. At the center of one of these factions, the Greymanes, is our boy Cliff. Cliff isn't alone. He's got his squad, Unka, Jan, and Naira. These aren't just random NPCs. They're his comrades, his family in all but name. The Greymanes are basically a mercenary company that fights for peace and unity. Noble goal, right? Well, that all goes to hell real fast. The story kicks off with a devastating night ambush by the Greymane's sworn enemies, the Black Bears. And when I say devastating, I mean it. The Black Bears, led by their absolutely terrifying leader, Muradin, completely wrecked the Greymanes. Many are killed. The survivors, including Cliff, are scattered across the continent.
Chance! Look at yourselves! Peace! What good is that if you're all fucking dead?
Muradin is this ruthless, bear-like warrior who, according to one boss fight preview, charges at you like an actual bear and hits harder than a truck. Very, I'm gonna ruin your day energy. So Cliff, having lost everything, his base, his people, his sense of purpose, makes a vow. Reunite the surviving Greymanes, rebuild what was lost, and get revenge on Muradin and the Black Bears. Classic revenge story, right? Hunt down the bad guys, rebuild your crew, get justice. We've seen it before. Except, this is where the story goes from personal vendetta to, oh no, the entire world is doomed. As Cliff travels Pywell searching for his scattered comrades and building alliances, he starts uncovering something much bigger. There's this mysterious force called the Abyss, a realm beyond the normal world. And it's not just sitting there minding its own business. Now, the Abyss is destabilizing, and fragments of it are literally crashing into Pywell. There are these mystical gates scattered around the world that lead into the Abyss, and going in there reveals all sorts of weird, otherworldly landscapes. So Cliff's journey evolves from, I'm going to rebuild my crew and kill Muradin, to I'm going to rebuild my crew, kill Muradin, and also somehow save the world from interdimensional catastrophe. No pressure, Cliff. The narrative is designed to be linear in terms of main story beats. Everyone experiences the same canonical events, but the scale of the world and the amount of side content means every player's journey will feel unique. You can tackle regions in different orders, stumble upon side quests, help NPCs, or just ignore everything and go hunt a legendary beast because it looked cool. Pearl Abyss has confirmed the main campaign will run between 50 to 80 hours depending on how much side content you engage with. And they've also stated that the main story, or campaign, is just a small percentage of the game itself. And they've emphasized that every NPC, event, and side quest will serve a purpose. Both claim. We'll see if that holds up. But if their work on Black Desert is any indication, where nearly every NPC has some interaction or quest, they might actually deliver on this. Now, Cliff's story sounds cool and all, but here's something that just got revealed recently that has people hyped. You're not just playing as Cliff the entire game. Let's talk characters. So for the longest time, everyone assumed Crimson Desert was Cliff's game and Cliff's game alone. Fixed protagonist, his story, his journey. Well, Pearl Abyss just casually dropped a bombshell in their most recent gameplay overview. You can play as two other characters besides Cliff. And not just in specific story missions. Once you unlock them through story progression, you can freely switch between these characters to explore Pywell and complete side quests. Let me introduce you to the squad. Cliff McDuff, the main guy. This is your classic gruff warrior protagonist. Scottish accent. Yes, really. The voice acting is very clearly Scottish.
How's the situation?
And one preview described him as sweary Scottish protagonist. He's the leader of the Greymanes, wielding sword and shield as his main setup, but he's also got a bow for ranged attacks. Cliff has these magical abilities granted by mysterious spirits, including these angelic wing powers that let him do all sorts of wild stuff. Think Link-style chosen hero, but with way more trauma and anger issues. He's not a customizable blank slate. This is a defined character with his own personality, background, and story. You're along for his ride. Character number 2. Okay, so we finally got confirmation on the second playable character's identity. This is Damienne, and she's an absolute powerhouse. The gameplay footage shows her doing some brutal combos. She'll smash enemies with the greatsword, quick step away from attacks, then pull out the flintlock for a point-blank execution. It's incredibly satisfying to watch. But here's where Damienne gets really interesting. She's not just about brute force, she's got style. One recent trailer showed her doing a spinning kick, but before the enemy could even react, she grabs them mid-air and performs an Izuna drop straight out of Ninja Gaiden. It's this beautiful aerial throw that transitions directly into an execution. She can also use elemental magic. Fire, ice, lightning, similar to Cliff, but her animations are different, more elegant, more precise. And get this, Damienne has her own traversal gadget. While Cliff gets those wraith-like crow's wings to glide through the air, Damienne has a propeller gadget. It's like a personal glider, but she can spin it faster to achieve actual powered flight. Not just gliding, flying. Unka, the heavy hitter. The third playable character is Unka, one of Cliff's original Greymane squad members. This guy is built like a tank and fights like one too. Unka is all about crowd control and raw destructive power. His playstyle is described as barbarian, an imposing warrior who excels at breaking enemy lines, smashing groups of enemies together, reducing fortifications to rubble, area of effect damage. He can perform body slams just like Cliff, leap slam attacks with his axe, and even uses punches and kicks in between weapon strikes. Watching him fight is like watching a wrecking ball with legs. One preview showed him in the Crimson Desert region tangling with multiple soldiers using his hammer, and he was just launching people into the air left and right. Now, here's how the character switching actually works. Only Cliff can progress the main campaign. Story missions are Cliff exclusive. You cannot advance the plot as Damienne or Unka. Once unlocked, you can freely switch to any character at any time for open world exploration, side quests and commissions, resource gathering, hunting and activities, and boss fights outside the main story. This is huge for replayability and player expression. Don't like Cliff's sword and shield approach? Swap to Damienne for faster, more aggressive combat with that great sword and flintlock combo. Want to absolutely dominate large groups? Unka's area of effect attacks have you covered. Each character also has their own unique skill trees, different dialogue options with NPCs, separate progression paths, character-specific side storylines. Certain quests might play out differently depending on who you're controlling, and some NPCs react uniquely to each character. This is such a smart move by Pearl Abyss. It adds massive variety without going full RPG character creator, keeps the story tight and focused on these specific characters, but gives players 3 distinct playstyles to master. And speaking of mastering combat, let's talk about the part everyone's been obsessing over since Gamescom 2024. The combat system. Okay, so here's the deal. Crimson Desert's combat is divisive. Some people played the demo and said it's the most exhilarating action combat they've experienced. Others said the control scheme made them want to throw their controller out a window. Let's break down why. The Gamescom 2024 demo threw players directly into combat with minimal tutorial. You start on a battlefield with the Greymanes fighting the Black Bears, and you're immediately swarmed by enemies. And these aren't dumb AI mobs just standing there waiting to be hit. Oh no, the enemy AI is aggressive. They flank you, team up on you, dodge your attacks, roll away when you charge them, and generally do their best to make your life miserable. I love it when a game commits to the bit. So the combat basics, you've got light attacks, heavy attacks, blocking, dodging, parrying, special skills, combos, and environmental interactions all happening at once. You can switch between weapons, sword and shield, bow, various magic abilities called palm attacks. One reviewer described it as a moonshine mix between Breath of the Wild and Dragon's Dogma 2, dosed with gasoline then set on fire. That's very specific but also very accurate based on footage. The Gamescom 2024 demo featured 4 boss fights, each wildly different. The Reed Devil, a masked swordsman who teleports around the field of reeds, zipping behind you for rapid sword strikes. You have to bait his attacks and predict his movements. Very skill-based, very frustrating until you get it. The Queen Stoneback Crab, a giant crab boss where you can climb onto its back, Shadow of the Colossus style, but it tries to shake you off with massive water jets that send you flying into the air. You have to use your gliding cape to get back on and deliver the final blow. It's as ridiculous as it sounds, and people loved it. The Stag Lord, a huge elk-like creature that fights you in a snowy mountain area. The Whitehorn, another brutal snow boss shown in later previews, described as growing fiercer by the minute with multiple phases. Each boss has unique attack patterns, speeds, and mechanics. You can't just button mash your way through. You need to learn the timing, adapt your strategy, and use the right tools. And here's where it gets interesting. Pearl Abyss has said that mechanics you learn against one boss can be used against others. The game gives you a toolbox of abilities and expects you to figure out how to use them creatively. Combat is combo heavy. You can chain light attacks into heavy attacks, into special skills, into weapon swaps, into elemental effects. One footage breakdown showed Cliff slashing through reeds with his sword during the Reed Devil fight, the environment destructing in real time as he fought. There's horseback combat, where you can fight mounted enemies or take down infantry from above. There's even aerial combat when riding dragons, unleashing fire attacks on ground forces. There's even siege warfare, with large-scale battles where you're fighting alongside dozens of allied NPCs against enemy armies. Physics plays a huge role. Every hit has weight. Enemies go flying, you can knock them off cliffs, slam them into walls. Now, about those controls, here's where people got frustrated. To talk to an NPC, you don't just walk up and press a button. You have to hold the block button, L1, and then press the interact button, triangle. To mount a flag during a quest, you have to click both analog sticks to enter focus mode, line up perfectly with the object, lift it with one button, mash a different button to raise it overhead, then press another button to plant it. It's a lot. Pearl Abyss's reasoning is that because Cliff can do so many different actions, combat, traversal, environmental interactions, crafting, social stuff, they needed complex input methods to fit it all. But several previews said it felt unnecessarily convoluted and that a simpler control scheme would have been better. The good news, Pearl Abyss has been listening to feedback. After Gamescom, they mentioned they're considering adding a lock-on camera system for combat based on player requests. And given that the game went gold after these demos, there's a chance they've refined the controls further. We'll find out on March 19th. But combat is only one part of the gameplay. What else can you do in this massive world? So you've fought the bosses, conquered the armies, ridden the dragons. What else is there? Turns out, a lot. Pearl Abyss has been very clear that while combat is a major focus, Crimson Desert is designed to be an immersive world where you can engage with Pywell in tons of ways beyond just stabbing things. Fishing. Yep, you can fish, because apparently even mercenaries need downtime. We've seen footage of Cliff standing by a river with a fishing rod. It's giving Stardew Valley energy in the middle of a dark fantasy epic. Cooking. Gather ingredients, craft meals that give you buffs. And these buffs are substantial. We're talking major increases to health, spirit, and stamina. Cooking isn't just a side activity, it's crucial for tackling tougher content. Hunting. Track and hunt animals across Pywell. Could be for resources, could be for sport, could be because that deer looked at you funny. Hunting also provides materials needed for weapon upgrades and crafting. Crafting and alchemy. You can gather resources by breaking rocks with a hammer, physics-based of course, chop wood and use alchemy to enhance your weapons with elemental effects, fire, ice, electricity. Want a flaming sword? Go for it. Rock climbing. The world is super vertical. You can scale cliffs, jump off them, and glide to other locations. Exploration is heavily encouraged. Dice games in taverns. One preview specifically mentioned playing dice games with NPCs. Give me that Witcher 3 Gwent energy, but with dice. Arm wrestling. This was shown in the third features overview trailer. You can challenge NPCs to arm wrestling contests. Fighting arenas. There are mud-filled fighting pits scattered across Pywell where you can compete in brawls. Puzzles. Ancient mechanisms and environmental puzzles are scattered around. Some use physics, like using fire to melt ice blocking a path. Others require finding hidden switches or solving logic challenges. Now here's where it gets really interesting. NPC interaction. Pearl Abyss has claimed that every NPC, event, and side quest will serve a purpose. That's a bold statement, especially in a game this massive. Villagers react dynamically to combat. See a fight break out? They'll run, hide, or just stand there watching like the Firehouse NPCs. One gameplay breakdown showed children running around, NPCs having conversations with each other, not just waiting for the player, and the wind causing leaves and branches to sway realistically. The world feels lived in. Environmental interactivity is next level. Set buildings on fire with elemental attacks, break through certain structures, use hammers to smash rocks, throw objects like those water vases to put out fires. Interact with animals, pet dogs, catch cats, mount wolves or bears. There's even a temperature system. We saw the thermometer spike to 50 degrees Celsius inside a burning building. Whether this ties into survival mechanics or is purely cosmetic, we don't know yet, but it's a cool detail. Quests come in multiple forms. Main story quests, linear narrative beats everyone experiences. Side quests, character-specific stories, faction missions, helping NPCs. Contracts or bounties posted on boards in towns. But you can also complete objectives before even taking the quest, like liberating a bandit camp before being asked to. Discovery events, just exploring and finding stuff organically. One interview revealed the game is designed around empowering the player, not forcing them into specific choices. So if you encounter a problem, there are usually multiple solutions. Need to get past some enemies? Fight them, sneak around, bribe them, find an alternate path. It's up to you. Progression is tied to collecting fragments of the Abyss, which serve as the game's primary progression currency. Your power also comes from the equipment you wear and the weapons you wield. Fragments of the Abyss can be earned by defeating powerful bosses. Each major enemy drops fragments. Exploring hidden areas. Secret locations throughout Pywell contain fragment caches. Completing main quests, story progression rewards substantial fragments. Finding them in the world. Some are just scattered around waiting to be discovered. These fragments are used to boost core stats, health, stamina, attack, defense, unlock new skills, extend combo chains and add new abilities, enhance existing skills, make your current moves more powerful. How you upgrade gear is tied to materials found in specific regions, so you can go explore the entire map early on, but tougher areas will be very difficult until you've upgraded your gear with materials from earlier zones. Smart way to gate content without invisible walls or arbitrary level requirements. You also unlock new skills and abilities by defeating powerful enemies, finding artifacts, and progressing the story. The demo builds shown at events had about 60 to 70% of skills unlocked. In the actual game, you start from scratch and can specialize. Focus on heavy weapons, agility builds, magic, ranged combat, whatever fits your style. Here's one of the coolest mechanics in the game. You can learn skills by watching NPCs and enemies. See someone fishing by a river? Watch them for a bit, and you'll unlock the fishing skill. Notice an enemy using a particularly effective combat move? Pay close attention during the fight, and you might learn it yourself. Weapons can be customized with Abyss gear, special augments that provide bonuses like increased attack speed, higher critical hit chance, extra damage against specific enemy types like stronger foes, elemental enhancements. This adds another layer of build customization on top of the skill system. Alright, we've covered exploration, combat, and side activities, but now we're getting to the big stuff that was just revealed. Let's talk about your home away from home. Alright, this is the feature that has me most excited. Pearl Abyss just dropped their third features overview video, and they revealed the Greymane Camp system in all its glory. And folks, this is way more than just a fast travel point. The setup. From ruins to stronghold. Remember how the Black Bears attacked the Greymanes in Pyloon and destroyed their home? Well, after that devastating ambush, the survivors, led by Cliff, establish a new camp in the Hernand region. When you first arrive, the camp is rough. It's a few tents, some demoralized mercenaries, and a whole lot of what do we do now energy. The Greymanes are in shambles, and it shows. But here's where it gets interesting. You can rebuild it. As you explore Pywool, complete quests, and gather resources, you can invest in upgrading the camp's infrastructure. And we're not talking about simple cosmetic changes. This camp evolves into a full-fledged stronghold. The more you invest, new buildings get constructed, facilities expand and improve, more services become available. The atmosphere changes from desperate survivors to thriving community. It's basically the Red Dead Redemption 2 camp system, but on steroids. Camp functions, your survival hub. The camp serves real gameplay purposes. Cooking station. There are cooking pots where you can prepare meals using ingredients you've gathered. And remember, cooking provides crucial buffs to health, spirit, and stamina. Before a tough boss fight, cook up a feast. Vendor access. There's a camp vendor where you can purchase supplies without needing to travel to a town. Stock up on arrows, potions, general supplies, all without leaving your base. And here's something really cool. You can arrange furniture inside the buildings. This isn't just functional, it's personal. You're not just rebuilding the Greymane's base, you're making it yours. Farming. Plant seeds for vegetables, herbs, and crops. Tend to your garden over time. Harvest ingredients for cooking and alchemy. Running low on healing herbs? Just grow them yourself. Ranching. Manage livestock. We've seen animals at the camp. Collect resources like eggs, milk, or wool. Raise animals for various purposes. Provides a steady supply of cooking and crafting materials. Here's what Pearl Abyss said. If the wilds of Pywool cannot provide resources, the camp will. This is completely optional. If you just want to murder your way across Pywool and ignore farming, you can totally do that. But for players who love these systems, this is fantastic. You can literally maintain a peaceful farm while also hunting down the people who destroyed your order. The duality is amazing. As you travel across Pywool and complete the main story, you'll find surviving Greymanes scattered throughout the continent. Once you reunite with them, they'll head back to camp. But here's the really cool part. Some Greymanes might just hear about your camp and show up on their own. As your reputation grows and the camp becomes more established, mercenaries will seek you out. Your base becomes a beacon of hope in a chaotic world. The camp isn't just a menu, it's a living community. Once you've got a solid roster, you can assign Greymanes to specific roles. Different Greymanes have different skills better suited to specific tasks. Some are better builders, others are better gatherers, some excel at combat missions. You can optimize your camp operations by assigning the right people to the right jobs. This is where the camp system gets really strategic. You can dispatch Greymanes on missions across Pywool while you're off doing other things. The camp is your sanctuary in a brutal world, But when you step outside those walls, you better look good doing it. Now, if you're a Black Desert Online player, you know Pearl Abyss has one of the best character creators in the entire gaming industry. So when Crimson Desert was announced with fixed protagonists, a lot of people were disappointed. Well, Pearl Abyss heard that feedback, and while you can't create a custom character from scratch, they've added a barbershop system that lets you customize all 3 playable characters. For Cliff, Damien, and Onka, you can change hairstyles, multiple different styles to choose from. We've seen at least half a dozen distinct hairstyles for each character. Full range of color options. It's not as deep as a full character creator, but it's way more than what you get in most story-driven action games. Compare it to The Witcher 3. Geralt gets like 2 hairstyles and a beard toggle. This is a significant step up. And Pearl Abyss being Pearl Abyss, the actual quality of the customization options is top tier. These aren't generic hairstyles. They're detailed, well-animated, and fit each character's aesthetic. Oh, and you can also customize your horse and even the pilotable war robot or mech. The footage specifically showed different tack sets for horses, different saddles, reins, armor plating. Want your mount to match your character's aesthetic? Done. Want your giant mechanical war machine to have a custom paint job? Pearl Abyss has you covered. For a game with fixed protagonists, this is an impressive amount of player expression. Alright, we've talked about building your camp and looking good, but what happens when you decide to be a little naughty? Yeah, turns out Crimson Desert has a full crime and wanted system, and it's way more robust than anyone expected. You can commit various crimes in Pywell. You can pickpocket from NPCs, take items that don't belong to you, like that fruit from vendors, attack civilians or guards. The game tracks all of this, and there are consequences. NPCs become hostile or flee. Guards are alerted and come after you. A bounty is placed on your head. Towns can turn entirely hostile, and guards actively hunt you. Or go to jail. Yes, you can actually be imprisoned. So we've got camp building, deep customization, and the crime system with real consequences. What's the final verdict on all this? Look, I'm gonna be real with you. Crimson Desert is wildly ambitious. This is a game that wants to be everything to everyone. Brutal action combat for the Souls fans, massive open world exploration for the Zelda crowd, deep story for the RPG lovers, fishing and cooking for the chill players, giant mechs for people who just want to blow stuff up, a full base building system for the Red Dead fans, farming and ranching for the Stardew Valley crowd, and a crime system for the Chaos Agents. That's a lot to juggle. The hands-on previews have been cautiously optimistic. People love the visuals. It's genuinely stunning, pushing the Black Space engine to its limits. The boss fights are fantastic when you get into the rhythm. The world feels alive and detailed. And the recently revealed camp system has people genuinely excited about the life sim elements. But there are concerns. The control scheme might be too complex, the story could be generic, we've seen Revenge Quest becomes world-saving mission a million times, and we won't know if all the systems work together until we play the full game. So, is it going to be perfect? Probably not. Will there be jank? Almost certainly. Is the control scheme going to frustrate some people? Yeah, probably. But is it going to be a wild, ambitious, beautiful mess of a game that swings for the fences and tries to do something really special? I think so. And honestly, in an industry that's getting increasingly safe and formulaic, I want games that take big swings. Crimson Desert is trying to combine medieval fantasy with sci-fi mechs, revenge stories with cosmic horror, brutal combat with peaceful fishing, base building with farming, character customization with fixed protagonists, and a crime system that actually matters, all in a seamless open world twice the size of Skyrim. That's bonkers, and I'm here for it. So, if you want to jump in day one, pre-orders are live now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Steam, Epic Games Store, and macOS. Standard Edition, Deluxe Edition, and that wild $280 Collector's Edition with the diorama. Pre-ordering gets you the exclusive Khaled Shield, and PlayStation users get the Groton Vault plate set as a bonus. March 19th, 2026. Mark your calendars. We're about to see if Pearl Abyss can pull off the impossible. I'll be covering this game at launch with a full review, and I will be talking more about the game before launch, so make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on so you don't miss it. What do you think? Are you hyped for Crimson Desert, or are you waiting to see how it turns out before diving in? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Pywell.
Crimson Desert, check out our combat explainer and our showcase of every boss battle revealed so far. And for everything else, stick with IGN.